It's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I am Justine Froelker, and this is me listening to the theme of the day, being obedient and going live. So the question, have you ever felt judged by your loved ones for how you're feeling? I have a new friend that I met through the internet, and she is helping me out with a bunch of stuff, pitching me to a bunch of people, which is amazing. And I seem to be doing a lot of therapy this week. I have a lot of people going through a lot of fairly terrible things in their lives, and so I'm offering quite a bit of therapy to the people I love this week. But she's like, can I ask you a question? And she has gone through grief and loss. She's lost a baby like I have, and that's kind of how we connected. And she received a Christmas gift from a friend, and it included something really, it was just shitty. It was super inconsiderate for someone who had just lost a baby. And she's like, I actually confronted her about it, and I feel like she makes me feel, which no one makes us feel anything, but she makes me feel like I'm being dramatic, and I just feel so judged for how I feel. And I felt like a total asshole for being upset with her. And I texted her back, I said literally what I prefaced this video with. I go, our feelings do not make us assholes. Now, how we deal with them, yes, absolutely, can make you a real asshole. And she called me a magical unicorn. And I was like, oh, that's good. I'm going to have to share this because I recorded a podcast today with the CBN Prayer Warriors podcast. And then I'm working on an assignment from my coach, Cassandra. So I'm writing a keynote for her. And I was pulled to a certain scripture. I was working on stuff that totally aligned with this component. And so there's this piece that there will be times in your life that your loved ones have difficulty understanding how you feel. And so oftentimes when we feel like we are being judged or we're being dramatic, our job is to ask for what we want and need. Like, that was literally my first response to my friend, was like, you need to ask for what you want and need. And it's even okay to give people a script. And it doesn't mean that you're going to get what you want and need back from your loved ones, but at least you communicated it to them. And if they're unable or unwilling to give it to you, then that may change the boundaries that you have with that person, or it may change the relationship. So we do have responsibility to communicate how we are feeling with our loved ones. However, then there's that other side of it. Do you have a loved one in your life that you are judging because of how they feel? There is this piece of, you don't need to have understood or been through what someone is going through to know what they are feeling, or to not be a jerk back to them and judge them with what they are going through. It's empathy. You simply have to identify with the emotion that's underneath the experience. You've heard me teach on empathy a lot, but the reason I had to go live about this is because I was working on this keynote and I was pulled to Romans 12, which the title to Romans 12 literally says how to behave. And I literally think that I probably should just do an entire series on Romans 12:9 through 16. But we're going to look at 12:15 because that's what I was working on when my friend texted me. Be happy with those who are happy, and weep with those who weep. You don't have to understand or agree with how your loved one is feeling for you to weep with those who are weeping, or for you to practice empathy. That is a skill you can learn. And if you need help, there is no shortage of content on all of my sites. You choose whether or not you're going to grab your brave and practice vulnerability and practice empathy with your loved one, rather than judging them, not understanding, convincing them to feel differently, or trying to fix their pain. The flip side of that is that it is absolutely our job as someone who is struggling or hurting to ask for what we want and need, and even to give our loved ones a script. I'm not a magical unicorn. I've had a lot of practice on this work and a lot of training on this work. But when I have, my podcast interviewers ask me, like, how can someone, is a prayer podcast, so they ask, like, how can someone who may have someone in their life struggling with grief and loss, how could they pray for them? And one of the things I said was, like, you ask for the courage to show up for them. You ask for the courage to show up and sit beside them with their pain. You don't need to understand it. You don't need to agree with it. And then as I was working on this keynote, and Romans 12:15 came in, like, weep with those who are weeping. Weep with those who are grieving. That's empathy. That's Paul writing to the Christians in Rome, telling them how to be Christ-like, giving them things to do, how to behave. It's literally the header of the section of the chapter. But most of us don't know how. And it's teachable, and it starts with courage. And it starts with grabbing your brave, getting uncomfortable. And instead of going to fixing a problem or judgment, because that's easy and you don't feel uncomfortable there, you choose vulnerability to identify with the emotion that's underneath what they must be going through. And you don't tell someone that what they feel is wrong. It takes courage to talk to our loved ones about how we're feeling, then to get shut down by your loved ones, like, well, you can't be feeling that way. That's not what I meant it to be. That's not helpful. Have a conversation. Have the courage to have difficult conversations. And some of us aren't willing to do that, which means that sometimes our relationships have to change. So, to summarize, celebrate with those who are celebrating. Weep with those who grieve. Show up. Have the courage to not have simple answers, because there are none. And sit beside your loved ones who are suffering. And if you are the one suffering, have the courage to ask for what you want and need. It is that simple. So I'm supposed to be on voice rest because I have many podcast interviews this week and a workshop tonight, and my online program starts on Thursday. So I'm going to now stop talking and take a little bit of break before my St. Louis workshop tonight. So if you're in the St. Louis area, come tonight, 7 to 8, it's $25 here in Creve Coeur. It's technically not too late to join my online program on Thursday night. It starts on Thursday night, 4-month program. You just get your workbook late, and keep an eye out for a bunch of stuff coming out from me, because we got a lot. I got a lot of opportunities lately. So I'll be sure to share all those. And thank you for your support. Thank you for buying the book, The Complicated Gray, and reviewing it if you have read it, and sharing it with your audience. So thanks, and make it a great night.